Hey everyone, this is John Feneck with the Feneck Commodities Report, and with me today is my YouTube partner, Don Durrett, founder of goldstockdata.com, the source for gold and silver stocks out there. Great data, and hope that you'll check that out. Hey Don, how are you today?
Hey, John, David, looking forward to it.
Hi.
Yes, and we also have the CEO of Avino Silver here with us today. Avino Silver and Gold, I should say. ASM is the ticker. David Wolfin, welcome to the show, David.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, David, would you be kind enough to give us a 7 to 10 minute overview of what's happening at Avino?
Sure. Well, Avino has been in business a long time, 57 years, as you all know. A lot of years of production, but right now we're in our biggest expansion phase. Our tagline is a clear path to transformational growth. It's clear because we own the assets going to drive our growth from a junior producer to an intermediate producer within 5 years. The project portfolio is made up of the producing Avino Mine, the acquired La Preciosa Mine, which we're building right now, and the Oxide Tailings Project. Those three assets will drive our growth. We've got a large silver equivalent resource base, 277 million ounces of measured and indicated, 94 million ounces of inferred, and 60% of that is pure silver. Avino this year will produce between 2.5 to 2.8 million ounces of silver equivalent. It depends. It could be at the higher end of that, depending on La Preciosa. We're in development phase right now, but next year we're expecting about a 30% jump in our output because of La Preciosa, because of the high grade that's there. This year, 49% of our revenue comes from silver, 19% from gold, and 31% from copper. Next year, it'll go over 58% and then up to 70%. This is on a base case scenario. Base case, when you look at our resource grade at La Preciosa, it was given to us by Coeur Mining, and they were planning an open pit mine. So there was a lot of dilution there. And we're not planning to open pit mine it. So we're expecting the recovery of silver to increase. And so we're thrilled about that. Should I open it up now for Don to ask any questions? Or I can
Sure.
keep going. Or
Well, we can just have an open conversation.
so,
Sure. Don, you want to just jump in with a few?
Yeah, sure. So I've been a big fan of your company after you did that La Preciosa deal. I thought it was a game changer for your company. I thought Coeur gave it away. It was unbelievable. I mean, you just mentioned 370 million ounces of silver equivalent, and your market cap was under 100 million. I remember when it got down to 45 cents, I was telling everybody, there's no way it's going cheaper. Just buy this to the bottom. This is as cheap as it gets. And I was absolutely right. It just took after that, one silver when it absolutely took off. I was in shock that Coors sold their shares. They owned over 10% of your company at one time, gave them away. I was absolutely shocked
yeah.
by that. I thought they should have doubled their position in your company, is what they should have done.
We thought they would, but they had debt issues from Rochester. They're $500 million in debt, so they're getting rid of all their non-core assets.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they didn't get very much for you at the time, did they? Um,
No, they were shopping it around, and the shorts drove our price down to where you just mentioned. So when
yeah,
they sold their position in October 2023, we bounced from there. So we're
yeah.
now at a normal PNAV over one. So we're fairly valued at the moment, but we're going to be surprising people to the upside with La Preciosa.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So your current run rate, I have you at $60 million at 2.8 million ounces, about $15 million a quarter. Is that about right? Your current run rate?
Uh, Current run rate, I mean,
Free cash flow, about 15 million a quarter.
I don't know if it's that high. Our Q3 quarter is coming out in a few days, so you'll have to wait to see that. But
Okay.
it's looking very good. Our cash costs in Q2 were $15, and all-in sustaining was $20.93. So you can sort of do the math and see, it's
Right.
a healthy margin.
Right. You are generating a significant amount of free cash right now, which is outstanding. You don't have any debt. How much cash? I had you at 27 million in cash.
Double that.
Oh wow, 54. Okay, awesome. So
Over 50. It's over 50,
all right.
but
All right,
yeah.
we'll call it 50. So you're at 50 and you're adding cash right now, which is outstanding.
Yeah.
No debt.
Yeah.
I like that. So now you're I have you at 135 million common shares, 157 fully diluted. Is that right?
As of Q2, we had 154 million outstanding, 165 fully diluted, and there's no warrants.
Okay. So yes, so not much more. So your fully diluted is about a 750 million, maybe a little less than that US. What I'm really interested in here is your growth, how long it's going to take you. You have all that silver equivalent in the ground, and I'm wondering, last time I talked to you, it looked like you were going to get to 4 million ounces silver equivalent in 26. Is it still looking like that?
That would be nice. I mean, we're thinking probably up around 3.8 to 4 in that range.
Okay. Okay. And
Depends. It depends on the underground, the rock competency, the grade, but it should be in that range.
And my understanding is this is all organic growth for La Preciosa. I mean, you have 50 million in cash you're adding, so you're not going to be diluting any shares in the near term. You don't foresee any dilution, right?
We've been opportunistic with our ATM a little bit with new highs, so we're not looking to heavily dilute our current shareholders, but we are building our treasury for growth. So we have the Oxide Tailings Project, the third asset. That's a $50 million capex right there. And what we're doing now is we had engineers at site recently, and we're looking at expansion of Avino and La Preciosa. So there could be a need there. And so the beauty of this is we're slowly building cash instead of a giant bought deal and a discount. We're actually doing it above the market.
Right, right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So 27, 28, 29. I have you not very much growth in 27. Do you think you'll be able to do anything in 27, or you're just going to stay around 384 million in 27?
Around 4, probably 3.8 to 4.2 in that range. It really depends if we go with a construction decision next year on the Oxide Tailings, or do we upgrade our current operations. So right now, like I mentioned, we have engineers, SRK Engineering and Tetra Tech down there. And so we want to understand, would it be easier to expand the current operation? The Oxide Tailings is a whole new permitting process and a new footprint where the current plant is already permitted. So it may be easier to just expand that. So we're just doing some trade-off studies on that.
Right.
And the big thing that's going to come out in Q1 is a maiden reserve calculation. So, there's two ways to have reserves, either through a feasibility study, which ours was done in 1968, or under 43-101 rules, you have to be what they call a reporting issuer. So you got to have 3 years of 30 million in revenue, which we've achieved. So we are now looking at coming out with a maiden reserve estimate, which should be pretty robust.
Interesting. So 28 is really payday for your shareholders, because 28 is when you really bump up production to around 7 million ounces.
Yeah.
And so that for me is really where your company really gets exciting. 28, but so we got a ways out, but I think silver prices are going to go up dramatically between now and 28. So your stock price it'll keep trending higher and trending higher. But then, yeah, your company gets really exciting in 28. So for me, the risk I've always worried about. So I see you guys getting to at least 8 million ounces. So at 8 million ounces at $100 silver, say in 28, I think we'll get to $100 silver in 28. If you're all in cost, your break even's 40, you have $60 margins. So your free cash flow is around 450 to $500 million a year. And at that point, I think with those big margins, you might get as much as a 20 multiple. So it's about a $10 billion company. That's what I'm kind of where I'm think you're going to, which is outstanding. Now that makes you somewhat vulnerable, because if companies start thinking like me, if they start thinking in terms of, silver's going to 75, $100, they're like, wow, Avino's got all that silver in the ground. That's some easy pickings there. So I'm actually shocked that you haven't been acquired, because people, it's like nobody realizes how much value your company is. So I think you're worth $10 billion. Your market cap's about 750. So there's a big gap there. So are you trying to get some strategic investors in there so you can kind of hold on to your company? I mean, you've owned it for 57 years. You don't really want to lose it. So what's your thoughts on that?
I'm not too worried about that. I haven't seen any hostile takeovers recently of juniors. So, but yeah, we're getting big funds in. We're marketing to institutions, and it's well distributed, with the ETFs and the index funds. So yeah, it's hard to say if someone was to get aggressive. That would be up to the shareholders to decide. But so far, everyone's leaving us alone. We're de-risking the assets, so I think we've got some runway here to get our value up. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I saw today Coeur and New Gold announcement, so there's some mergers happening out there. But as for a hostile, I'm not too sure about that at this point. We'll see.
Yeah, the irony of these companies, they keep going for the accretive deals. So Coeur went after New Gold because their ASIC's $1,000. They love that they love to buy the accretive deals. They're very nervous about any company that potentially, they don't like to think too far into the future. So your company, you've never really been aggressive on M&A. And
Well,
so
the Preciosa was our biggest acquisition.
yeah. Well, that was kind of right next door to you. It was like sitting, it was like in your lap, right? So that was kind of a no-brainer. But do you now, if you start throwing a bunch of cash on your balance sheet, you get to 200, 300 billion. At that point, are you going to look around?
Oh, well, at that point, but let's get there first. So
It won't take long.
I hope you're right.
Okay, I'm getting through all my questions pretty good.
Yeah.
So exploration, La Preciosa. I mean,
Yeah.
your plans are very conservative. You're basically going to add 1 million ounces a year, very low capex. We're going to take our time. But are you going to start throwing a lot of drill holes into that
Yes.
property?
Yes.
Go
So
ahead and tell us about that.
this plan was put together prior to the rally. So we're already thinking about reimagining it. That's why we took the engineers down there. So that's going to take some time to kick around some different ideas. But we've also brought in Verify. And so we're integrating AI into generating targets. So they did 194,000 drill assays, 3,500 rock samples, 6,000 soil samples, 52 geophysic layers, 12 bands of Sentinel-2 imagery, 900 geological point sources. All of this is being put into a model. And so we've got 3 drills turning right now. So we added a second drill at Avino in the second half of the year. So what we're doing at Avino is it's very interesting because we're drilling at depth below level 17, which is the bottom developed area of the mine, and it's still open at depth. We've extended the mineralization by 350 meters, so it's almost doubled it from surface. So you're looking at a world-class asset in Avino alone. and open at depth. We brought in two world-class structural geologists, Jeff Hedenquist out of Ottawa, Tony Starlin out of UK, ex-Newmont, to help us determine what the potential is at depth. We've got this brecciated stockwork system, and there could be a porphyry below it, there could be a skarn, there could be a VMS. So we don't know. So we're going to keep drilling it. And then over to the west, up higher in the system, we never did any drilling because 100 meters above that was our tailings storage facility. So we didn't want to be mining and blasting below a tailings. So during the pandemic, we built a dry stack. So now that's drying out. So now we're exploring there. And then over at La Preciosa, we've got the resource grade of 200 grams from Coeur, who was planning an open pit mine with a 20-to-1 strip ratio. So they had a cutoff grade of 60 grams and a 265 million ounce resource. We raised the cutoff grade to 120 because we're going to underground mine it. So it lowered the amount of ounces, but we're drilling it now because when we went to go check the core samples, they did so many studies, the intercepts were gone. So we're re-drilling it. And if you look at the drill results, 7.9 meters of 1.54 kilograms of silver, with a half a gram to a gram and a half of gold. So absolutely, we're going to keep drilling, and we're going to ramp up, probably double or triple our drilling budget for next year.
Outstanding, David. Outstanding. So I've been telling people that have been taking profits in your company, I'm saying that it's a big mistake. There's such a thing as selling early, and selling early is a mistake. And so my exit price for Avino is $50. And that's at 8 million ounces. So if you can get it to 10 million ounces or 12 million ounces, I'll be leaving a lot on the table. So I'm waiting for $50 exit price. People are like, Don, there's no way, Don. So you're currently trading at $4.72. There's no way they're going to $50, Don. It's not going to happen. Well, the way I invest, it will happen because if silver prices hit my target, they absolutely will get to $50. I think they'll get north of 50. As far as the spec goes, a spec bet, this is one of the better ones out there, I think, because your grade's fine. So yeah, one final question for you is the risk of the location. So that area, are you worried about the roads? Because you're shipping the ore over from La Preciosa to your mill. Are you worried about the road ever closing?
No, because we're the #1 employer there. It's 100% Mexican labor force. How are we able to do that? By being there for 50 years and training everybody. So it's good morale. It's a busy network of villages. There's 25,000 people that live within a 30-mile radius. So you're not in some remote area. You're in a busy area. So it's safe. We don't produce bars on site. We produce a concentrate. We're in the high desert, so it's rolling farmland, so it's not in a remote area. So we've been operating there a long time and been left alone, so everything's fine.
Well, I've been following you for a while, and one thing I always do as an investor is I always try to find the red flags. It's like, what's going to bite you? Where's the rug pull? And one thing that's been great about Avino is there really isn't anything other than the silver price collapsing. I mean, you have the silver, you have the grade, you have the location, you have the management team, you have everything you need. The only really risk is, possible risk location, which you just told us is right now it's fairly good. And the price of silver, and I don't see the price of silver going down. I see it going up. So your balance sheet is strong. And so
the government changes on open pits, the resource triples overnight. Like if we ever wanted to do an open pit, Coeur did a feasibility study, so it's already there.
Well, that's a possibility.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, David. Obviously, we both have a lot of positions in Mexico. There's a lot of talk that Shinebound, there's two camps, right? Shinebound's been very supportive in Mexico. There's been 80 or 90, permits handed out, but none of those have been open pit. What are you hearing about the likelihood of her, being more open-minded to open pit mining in 2026?
Haven't heard too much. She's been busy with trade talks and tariffs and all that kind of stuff. So I haven't heard much of anything. So we're cautiously optimistic.
Okay. And you mentioned
I don't think she wants to target the mining industry. Her focus is, working with Mr. Trump and building business, I think. So I'm hopeful that she's going to change her mind on that.
Okay, fair. So you said your ASIC, your all-in sustaining cost last quarter was 2093. What do you see for? I mean, you can't tell us with a release coming in just a few days, but what do you see for what is your goal for an ASIC? Is that something that you're happy with at the 20 to 21 range, or do you see it going low over the next 4 to 8 quarters?
With higher grade and economies of scale from La Preciosa. So next year, I'm hoping that we'll be in the mid-teens, 15 to 18 somewhere. And with Oxide Tailings, it could go even lower because on the pre-feasibility study, the ASIC is $10. So combining all three assets could really lower our ASIC, but it's going to take some time to get there.
Okay, understood. And lastly, you mentioned that you're getting into the ETFs. Could you clarify for us which those are? Because there's 5 major ones out there, 2 in gold, 3 in silver.
We're in 5 of them. So I'm just looking to see where it's listed. I'm not too sure. Let me see here. Feneck, GDXJ, Amplify Silver, SILJ, Global X Silver, SIL, Sprott Silver Miners, SLBR, Sprott Critical Metals, SPTM, Sprott Energy Transmission, SETM, Themes Copper Miners, COPA. So more than 5. I didn't know that. So yeah, it's growing, especially when we get over $5 US, because then it's marginable in the US and more speculators can get in. So we popped when we were over 5, but it's consolidating now.
Right.
I had a question. Very intriguing something you said there. You said that there's a lot of silver at surface that would expand the size of the deposit if you could open pit mine it. And you kind of inferred that if she starts handing out open pit permits like candy, that you might raise your hand. Is that what I'm hearing?
But I think the market would add more value to the asset overnight, because there's a feasibility study laying the roadmap. So whether we do it or not, you go from 125 million ounces to 265 with a decision like that. So
you would have to.
That could make us a target. That decision right there.
Right. Well, how long would it take you to permit the open pit?
Oh, I don't know. Because it would be a brand new area of disturbance. So would take longer than it took us a year to get the underground one. So it could take a bit longer. I don't know. She's now, around the world, everyone's looking at strategic metals and that kind of thing. So she may change her mind on it.
Well, it seems like you're a little pushing back a little bit. Like I said, if she starts handing them out like candy, like anybody that wants an open pit can have one. At that point, do you start, hey, we can get one if we want one.
We would dust off that report and have it up to date. So that would be the first order of business. Make it current, and then make a decision from there.
Wow. Well,
we would want to pursue it. We want to look at it.
Guess
because La Preciosa on its own, I think on that study, it's on Edgar. You can go find it there. And it had, I think it was 12 to 15 million ounces of production annually. Just from La Preciosa.
Right. Well, I don't.
PNAV at spot is like in the billions, or the NAV at spot is.
I do not expect these open pit projects to not be permitted. So I expect these permits to go out soon. I expect Silver Tiger's trying to get one, Discovery's trying to get one, and Minera Alamos is trying to get one. I'm expecting these open pits to get Sonora Gold's trying to get one. I'm expecting these all of these to get approved. And so at that point, you're like, well, so this is big news, really.
Oh, it's huge.
I don't think the market really understands that your project could pivot to adding an open pit to La Preciosa. I don't think the market knows that.
Well, they forget or whatever. A lot of time has passed since they published that over 10 years ago. So, it's there. You can look at it. It's on Edgar and Cedar, I believe.
Fantastic news! Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah. Yep. So,
Don, any other questions?
No, I'm good. I'm glad David was on today. I think this is a really good update for investors. Fantastic story, fantastic company. This is really useful information.
one other thing is we got included in the TSX 30. So the top 30 performing companies on the Toronto Stock Exchange for the past year, we were ranked fifth.
Nice.
Wow.
Out of 30, we were fifth. So we were up 661% over a 3-year average. And the market cap was up over 700%. So it was pretty fantastic. We got to go there and ring the bell a couple of weeks ago. Last week, I was at site with a bunch of analysts. So the analysts were going around to the silver mines and they came to Avino. So look out for some research coming out.
Fantastic.
That's great news, David. Well, congratulations, and we'll keep following the story and hopefully have you back on the show next year.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot for having me.
So, Don, you've already kind of summarized for us, but was there anything here that we discussed that was new news for you outside of the possible pit scenario?
Just two things. Number one, the only thing I worry about this company is that somebody takes it out that I don't like. I don't want a company to acquire that I don't like. For instance, if they get into a bidding war or something, the Chinese come in and do an all cash deal, that scares me. This company has tons of potential. I didn't even know about the open pit. I didn't even know that was a possibility. I thought for as far as they were concerned, this is an underground mine. And so, wow, that really expands the upside significantly. We're talking almost doubling production if they do that.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity in Mexico right now. In fact, I was just on INN, where I know you and I both interviewed with Charlotte McLeod. That just went live on November 2nd on Sunday, and I talked about Mexico specifically and open pit mining down there with 3 names. You mentioned one of them, Sonora Gold, SMOFF. And I also mentioned Gold Group, GGAZF, and I mentioned Questcore, which is QQCMF, because Questcore is down the road. They're drilling right now. But Gold Group and Sonora are quite advanced. I mean, Gold Group is actually outperformed Avino year to date. It's absolutely cranking on very big volume on certain days. And Eric Sprott took a 12.5% position this summer. So that's what got my attention. But that's what you're seeing is larger guys like Eric are saying, hey, the odds are getting better that Shinebaum is going to play ball. I don't necessarily agree with what David was saying with regards to Trump and Shinebaum, because she can't rely on Trump. Trump is going to impose tariffs. He's not going to waver from that. She needs to look within her own country and say, what can I be doing better? And clearly, she's been dragging her feet on open pit mining for the last 13 months since she got in office.
Well, what I heard in Beaver Creek was extremely positive. Now, we are in Q4 and it's early November here. So we were there in September. We heard that the earliest that we were going to see permits is in Q4. So we're 4 weeks
Right.
into it. But I heard from numerous companies that they were expecting their permits in either Q4 or Q1 of next year, and that they were all uber bullish. I mean, they were giddy. And it wasn't just one company that was giddy. They were all giddy. It was like, I mean, going to...
Yeah, because those were independent meetings. They weren't like a group meeting.
I mean, literally smiles. I mean, they had smiles on their faces. We're getting our permits. And so the one thing that I heard over and over again from the companies was that Scheinbaum had changed the way that the permitting process worked, and that she was implementing this new process, and the new process was one-on-one meetings, and not just one, two, or three, like 5 or 10. There was this meeting after meeting after meeting. These CEOs were telling us all we're doing is going to meetings with these people, and it was the new. So Scheinbaum put, and they also told them, don't worry, they're coming, but we have to go through this process. So she put a new process in place just to basically get a relationship with these companies, a strong relationship with these companies, so that the companies understood what Mexico wanted as far as environmental regulations and safety regulations. She basically took it up a notch, and she just wanted to make it, so everybody, it was basically a training exercise. But they're all uber excited that they weren't. This wasn't a stalling process. They weren't doing these meetings to stall to turn them down. That wasn't the impetus. The impetus on this was
Yeah.
that they wanted them to understand what Mexico wanted from them, and let's all get on the same page so we know exactly what's needed, so that we don't have any problems. And that's what this new permitting. That's the reason why we have all these delays, because they just keep meeting after meeting after meeting.
Well,
But
I guess when you're looking at like, sorry to interrupt you, Don. Are you done?
okay. Yeah, I'm done.
When you look at what happened in the U.S. in March of this year with Trump's CEO, right? Like he literally said, 10 to 15 days, everything on my desk. In April, then he doubled down and said, we're going to fast track this, this, and this, and this, and this. Like that's to me what she needs to be doing more of. Like I understand the process, but AMLO was a knight for Mexican mining, right? Like she's taking over the reins from someone that clearly wasn't liked by mining community, and yet a lot of the GDP in Mexico is driven by mining. So, like, I don't think she's doing a very good job. I think that she needs to speed things up. When we're talking to these CEOs, like you had talked about, they were all telling me this a year ago that they were giddy and smiling. So that's where I'm concerned, right? Is like how much longer can investors hold into a story? You and I, we interview these guys, we talk to these CEOs all the time, right? We're patient. Most investors aren't patient, and that's the thing. It's like they're going to jump off the ship and say, "Well, geez, this is taking." She's been in office 13 months. Like, what's going on here? So,
It,
go ahead.
it was a completely different tone at Beaver Creek
Okay.
this year than last year. Completely different tone.
Okay,
Last year
good.
it was, we're confident, but there was no giddiness. This year there was absolutely giddiness across the board. I mean, to the point where these guys were almost counting the money in their pockets. That's how giddy they were. I mean, it was kind of over the top optimism, but they basically said, "Don't worry, Q4, Q1, we're getting our permits. We're going to build these mines." I mean, they're planning it all out. So I'm really not worried about permits in Mexico. I think that once it starts, if you will, and I think what's going to be happen is they're going to announce like 3 or 4 companies. They're not going to announce one. It's not going to be a slow dribble,
Yeah.
if you will. They're gonna
Okay.
they're gonna announce like 3 or 4 at once, and then once that happens, it's going to be, you know, it'll basically, the dam will break, if you will.
Right.
I think part of the intransigence, part of the slowness here, is that she is an environmentalist, and she has a lot of supporters who are environmentalists who are anti-mining, and so
Yep.
she basically said, "Okay, we're not going to rush this. Don't you worry. We're going to get these environmental. We're going to do this correctly." So I think that's what this is all about. Um, but yeah, I think Q4, Q1. If we get to April 1st, if we get to April 1st and there's no permits, I'm going to be very surprised.
I would agree. I think that in the next 6 months we'll see some activity, and I hope investors will hold in there. We just talked about Sonoro Gold, SMOFF. We talked about Gold Group, GGAZF. We talked about Questcore, QQCMF. We talked about Silver Tiger, SLVTF, and not sure if Gold's symbol. Don, do you have that handy?
Um, I I do
I don't have
not.
that memorized. But anyway, it's Go Gold, and that's also in that same region. So yeah, those are the five that I hear about. Of course, Discovery, DSVSF, but I mean, Discovery is much more advanced than the ones that we just talked about. So those are the ones that Don and I have kind of mentioned in our newsletters and on podcasts like this. So hopefully you guys will take a look at those. And Don, I think we should leave it there.
One second.
Yeah, sure.
So gold is GGD in Canada and GLGDF in the US.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. All
Um,
right.
well, yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll just leave it there. But great discussion with David. Good to have him on.
Absolutely. So we were talking with Avino Gold and Silver today. That ticker is ASM. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it.